Welcome to the instructional video for week 13. Let's go over your objectives for this week. For your language objective, we're going to take a pause again from adding new ones to your list and give you an opportunity to continue to work on objectives that we've previously had. So continue to practice your plurals and possessives. Maybe go back to the beginning of the course and see if there are any language objectives that you haven't worked on in a while, and you can take this time to incorporate some of those. Or you can just kind of take a break from it and spend this time in focusing on some other objectives if you need some additional time to do that. For your cognitive objective for this week, under the category of analyzing, we have uses resources to find new information. This is one I've particularly enjoyed with my children, young and old. There's kind of two sides to this coin to focus on this week. One is engaging your children in helping you find information that you're looking for. This could be something like finding a recipe for what to make for dinner, or what the weather's going to be like this week, or maybe a question that you have about what's going on in the world and you want to look up some information about it, or a science question. And if you don't have one, you can think of one. So you want to just engage them in helping you find the information that you're looking for. And then the other side of that coin is to assist your child. They do definitely need your assistance with this one, in finding information about a topic that they're interested in or about a question that they have. This is an excellent opportunity to revisit the task of asking and answering why questions. So that's super easy to incorporate here. So try to find at least one opportunity this week to do each of those things. Again, have them help you with a piece of information that you're looking for, and then help them find the answers to a question that they have about something they're interested in. And the takeaway from this that you want them to have is that we don't just have all of the answers that we need. We need to go and find that information somewhere. And then sort of the second takeaway is that there's lots of different resources you can use to do that. We sort of automatically, let me give you some resource ideas. We automatically tend to pick up our phone and go to Google, and that is a perfectly acceptable resource. The internet is a great resource to find the information that we need. When your child is a little bit older, you'll begin to talk to them about how to evaluate resources, which is really a separate and more advanced objective. You don't have to worry about that too much here. As far as explaining to them what's reliable or unreliable on the internet. But just showing them that the internet is a place, a resource that you can use to find information and find answers to questions. But of course, there are lots of other resources too. And so because our children often see us go to Google, you want to take this opportunity to maybe expand from that a little bit and choose some of the other resources as well. Maps and charts are great resources, which often you find on the internet. So that's sort of incorporating both of them. They're particularly good for, again, seeing what the weather is going to be. If you're planning a trip anytime soon, you can use a map to show them how you would plan your route. You can talk to them show them on a map where grandma lives and what states would you drive through to get to grandma's house, things like that. Reference books are fantastic resources. You may have some of these at home, or you may need to go to the library. Children, even pre-reading children, usually love them because they're usually full of pictures, and sometimes they really just like to go completely off topic and just flip through a beautiful reference book and ask you about different pictures that they see in there. So that's a great resource to use. Nonfiction books on any subject, especially in the kids section of the library. They have nonfiction books on every subject out there that your child might be interested in, from different types of rocks to dinosaurs to weather topics and science topics. So just letting your child explore the nonfiction section and letting them pick some books is a great opportunity to show them the different resources available for finding information. Don't forget about people as a resource too. Experts are fantastic resources. And so if your child has a science question, we don't always know a scientist that we can pick up the phone to, but you can look up videos of scientists talking about particular topics to show them and explain to them. how people who are experts in a field or have a great depth of knowledge about a particular topic are fantastic resources to find information. But you can also try to make this more personal to your child by, for instance, let's say you want to plant a flower garden and you have a neighbor that has a particularly beautiful garden and a lot of knowledge about gardening. You can take your child with you to ask them some questions about it and show them how, people make fantastic resources to find the answers to our questions, and they can be great sources of knowledge too. For our literacy objectives for this week, we are identifying the upper and lowercase m and the sound of m. So again, be careful not to add a schwa to the end of the letter sound. It's not m. It is a voiced consonant. And then we also have the literacy objective of contributing language from a book at appropriate times. So we know our kids usually they have a couple of favorite books that they love to reread over and over and over again, sometimes to the point of memorizing them. And so an example of this is when you start to read a sentence and then stop and prompt your child to fill in the blank and, tell what comes next in the story. For math, we're kind of doing the same thing that we're doing with language, and we're going to take a break from adding new objectives to you. They've counted to 100 now probably, and we're going to give you a little bit of additional time to work on that. However, at the same time, I acknowledge that maybe your child's already mastered this and they're really tired of counting, so you can also use this time to go back and work on some other math objectives, maybe ones they need a little more practice with, or ones that you didn't get time to do all the activities, or maybe ones that they loved and they want to do those activities again, or take a break from it entirely. That's also a valid choice, and spend that time doing something else, just enjoying a fun time with your child or working on one of the other learning objectives for this week. That's also completely an appropriate thing to do as well. For fine motor objectives, we have one precision activity, one finger isolation activity, one wrist extension and stability activity, and one open thumb web space activity. For social emotional learning, under the category of responsible decision making, we have understanding what a problem is. And under self-awareness, we have knowing some important information about themselves. For your project for this week, we have warm rises and cold sinks. So this is kind of a basic introduction to the scientific principle of convection, which is a complicated sounding proposition, but it's actually a really fun and a really easy one to demonstrate for little children. Sometimes it almost seems like a magic trick to them. They usually are really engaged and have a really fun time with this one. And once your child sees this process at work, what you're doing here is you're creating like a base knowledge of the scientific principle. So even if your child doesn't necessarily absorb all of the vocabulary or what the word convection means or anything like that, they're noticing how this works. And what that's doing is building a foundation of knowledge, because the scientific principle is involved in so many other things, from weather and so many other science concepts are related to the principle of convection. So as you show them this and illustrate this, it's setting them up later for when they have a question, whether it's about the weather or some other scientific principle that involves convection. You're going to be able to refer back to this, and they're going to have this knowledge that they can sort of hook onto later for more advanced or more sophisticated science concepts and questions later on. So it's a really fun project, and again, it does really set that stage for more science learning later on, and will make it easier for you to explain other concepts. Again, I think weather questions are one of the most frequent science questions that children may have, and so by incorporating this and showing them how this works, it does actually make it easier later on to explain some weather principles to them. So it'll actually help you out. So I hope you have fun with it this week, and we'll see you back next time.